"Excuse me, is this seat taken?" a sick little girl asked a stranger. He turned out to be a lonely billionaire. "If you only have time for one story today, let it be this one." Because a single question at a diner booth turned a quiet morning into a second chance at family, and taught three people that hope sometimes walks in on tired feet, clutching a teddy bear. The diner was half empty that morning, the smell of coffee and buttered toast hanging in the air. At a corner booth sat James Hartwell, 38, billionaire tech mogul. His sharp suit looked out of place against cracked leather seats and chipped mugs. To everyone else, he looked untouchable. But inside, James was drowning in silence. 3 years of loneliness had hollowed him out after the tragic loss of his wife and son. Then came a voice. Small, fragile, almost too soft to hear. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" James looked up. A little girl no older than 4 clutched a faded teddy bear, a wool cap pulled snug over her head. Her skin was pale, her eyes too big for her tiny frame. She looked exhausted but still managed a brave little smile. No one had spoken to him like that in years. He gestured silently, sliding the seat open. The girl climbed up with effort, setting her bear on the table. "This is Daisy," she whispered. "She's tired too." Before James could speak, a woman rushed in from the counter. Her face flushed, hair tucked back hastily, her clothes worn but clean. She froze when she saw her daughter sitting with a stranger in an expensive suit. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," she gasped, reaching for her child. "Lila, you can't just—" James raised a hand, calm and respectful. "It's all right. She's lovely." The woman hesitated. Her daughter, wrapped now in James's scarf, was humming softly to her bear. She looked at the man, his watch worth more than her car, his posture controlled, his face unreadable. And yet, there was something in his eyes. Something gentle. She pulled her daughter close. "Thank you," she murmured, embarrassed. "But we should go." As they left, James watched them. Thin coats, mismatched mittens, boots worn through. His untouched coffee had gone cold, but inside, something warm flickered. The stranger with the teddy bear had cracked open a door he thought was sealed forever. A week later, James found himself walking through Central Park, a place filled with too many memories. He sat on a bench, watching families laugh, fathers lifting kids onto shoulders, mothers fixing scarves. A life he once had, a life buried with his wife and son. Then he saw her, the little girl, Lila, spinning on a carousel, her cheeks flushed pink. The teddy bear clutched tight, and there, sitting nearby, was her mother. Reading but never looking away from her child, Lila spotted him first. "Scarf man!" she cried, leaping down and running toward him. James knelt, startled, as she flung her arms around his leg. Her mother hurried over, wary but polite. "We seem to keep running into you." James smiled faintly. "Or maybe fate doesn't like empty seats." They sat together on the bench, Lila between them, swinging her legs. James offered her a chocolate cone. Emma, her mother, laughed despite herself. "Ice cream? In this cold?" "Still ice cream," James said, grinning. For the first time in years, he felt lighter. But he didn't yet know that this little girl carried a battle bigger than any business deal he'd ever faced. "She has leukemia," Emma whispered later when James gently asked. Her voice carried no bitterness, just quiet exhaustion. "It's been a year of chemo, hospital stays, long nights, and I do everything I can, but sometimes it feels like I'm failing her." "You're not," James said firmly. His chest tightened. There was no bitterness in her tone, only quiet strength. He recognized that strength. It reminded him of his late wife. "I had a son," James said suddenly. He'd be Lila's age now. His throat constricted. "A car accident, he and his nanny. I was overseas when it happened." Emma reached out, resting her hand lightly on his. No words, just a touch. A fragile bridge between two broken worlds. Lila ran to the slide, giggling, her wool cap slipping. At the bottom, James caught her gently. She beamed. "You sound like my daddy in my dreams," she said. His throat tightened. Tears threatened, but he turned away. He hadn't expected this. A little girl who made him remember love, and a woman whose strength mirrored everything he had once admired in his wife. And yet, as snow began to fall, James knew one thing. He could no longer walk away. The storm hit on a bitter January morning. Emma and Lila were leaving the diner when Lila stumbled, her small body trembling with fever. "She's burning up!" Emma cried, panic in her voice. Without hesitation, James scooped Lily into his arms. "My car's outside," he said firmly. "We'll get her to the hospital." Emma looked at him, fear in her eyes. But what she saw in his face was not panic. It was steadiness, trustworthy. In the ER, James never left their side. He sat with Emma through every test, every beep of the monitors. Hours later, the doctors reassured them. A side effect of chemotherapy. Controlled now. Emma exhaled, her body shaking. She looked at James, this man she barely knew who hadn't left for a moment. In that sterile fluorescent room, trust quietly blossomed. Just when Emma began to believe in him, the world intruded. Billionaire CEO seen with struggling mother and sick child. PR stunt or genuine care, screamed the headlines. Emma's face paled. Their private moments, their laughter in the park, Lila resting on James's shoulder, were now splashed across the news. When James arrived at her door, she didn't let him finish. "Do you think we're props for your reputation?" she snapped. "That's all we are to you?" "No," James's voice cracked. "Emma, I didn't leak it. I never wanted this. He swallowed hard. "I just didn't want to lose you too." But Emma's walls were back up. She closed the door, leaving him in the cold. That night, James sat in his penthouse, staring into silence. He had dared to feel again, and now it was slipping away. Days later, the call came. Emma's panicked voice, "Lila's gone. She slipped out. I think she went looking for you." James's blood ran cold. He tore through the city, heart pounding, until he saw her, tiny, fragile, sitting outside the diner with her teddy bear. "I came to find you, Scarf Man," she said softly. He dropped to his knees, clutching her tight. "You can't do that, sweetheart. You scared us." Emma arrived, sobbing, collapsing against James as relief washed over her. In that moment, 3 broken lives collided, and something unshakable was born. A year later, Lila's hair had grown back, soft wisps framing her round cheeks. She ran ahead in the park, her laughter filling the spring air. Emma and James walked behind, hand in hand, no longer strangers, but something more. That Saturday, James led them to the same diner booth where it all began. The cracked leather seat still waited. Lila climbed in first, placing her bear proudly on the table. "Remember, Mommy? Remember what I said here?" Emma smiled. "Yes, baby." Lila grinned at James. "I said, 'Can I sit here?'" James stood then, his hands trembling as he pulled out a velvet box. He dropped to one knee. "The first time you walked into my life, it was because your daughter asked me if this seat was taken. I had no idea she, and you, would change everything. Emma, I lost my first family, but you gave me another chance. Will you marry me?" Tears spilled down Emma's cheeks as she nodded. Lila squealed, "Mommy said yes, you're going to be my daddy for real." The diner clapped. The sun poured golden light through the window. And for the first time in years, James Hartwell's seat, his heart, was no longer empty. The applause faded, but for James, Emma, and little Lila, time seemed to hold its breath. What had begun with a tired little girl asking for a seat had become a family bound not by chance, but by love, chosen every single day. And as they sat together in that old diner booth, Emma's hand in his, Lila's bear between them, James realized something profound. Sometimes the greatest fortunes aren't measured in dollars or empires, but in second chances, laughter, and the courage to let someone in. The seat was no longer empty. It was home. If you're hearing this on Stories of Life, take it as a quiet reminder. Sometimes the smallest voices carry the greatest truths. Don't overlook them. Pause, listen, and when you can, offer a seat. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs a little hope today, and subscribe for more stories that remind us of what really matters.